This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. My guest today is Richard. Richard is the co-founder of Manifold, which is a pretty cool looking new NFT platform. We'll talk all about that today. Richard is, I think he's Punk 6046. He describes himself as a professional NFT degen and smart contract artist. Welcome to the show, Richard.
Glad to be here.
Hey man, well, glad to have you here. I think we should do what we always do at the beginning, which is, please, could you give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself, whatever you want to share, go for gold.
So my name is Richard. I'm one of the co-founders of Manifold, and Manifold is a technology company that provides software and tools for artists and creators to create and develop NFTs. One of our big products we have is called Manifold Studio. And what we do is allow artists to deploy their own smart contracts and mint NFTs on those contracts so that they can, distribute the NFTs however they please. One of the core missions of Manifold is to enable creative sovereignty, and we do so by enabling the community to kind of like really experience NFTs for what they really are. And part of what we do in tandem to that, though, is we also collaborate with a ton of artists in the NFT space to kind of create very innovative NFT projects. We've worked with artists such as Pac, Mad Dog Jones, Victor Mascara. We recently did something with Julian Assange, right? And these are kind of like, very large scale NFT projects. And I think the latest project that we've worked on is the project with Steve Aoki, which is the Aokiverse, which is his NFT drop, which is a passport to his kind of ecosystem of NFTs that involves like real world and physical kind of rewards for holders.
Yeah, that's right. And the Steve Aoki drop looks very cool indeed. I've had a little bit of a look at that, and so I can see you have done a number of collaborations, Julian Assange, as you pointed out. So maybe we could use the Steve Aoki as a bit of an example, a case study, if you like. So maybe just do you want to talk through the project a little bit, Richard, and explain along the way how it works with Manifold?
Yeah, sure, for sure. So we've been kind of collaborating with Steve Aoki and his team for many months now. We helped kind of plan some of his previous drops on Nifty Gateway. We designed sort of his reward system for his holders of NFTs that were previously purchased. But Steve is always looking to do more things, right? And more innovative things. And so, we really looked at what Steve was trying to do, and he said that he wanted to create sort of an all-inclusive, I want to say, membership club to his, for his fans, right? And this would be, very Web3 based. And so, traditionally, how fan clubs work is, you sign up for, a mailing list, and then you get notified whenever, there's an event or so on, right? But then, what NFTs do is they really allow the participants to engage with the platform itself, engage with the artists themselves. And, one of the big things about NFTs is that ownership plays a big part of that. And so traditionally, a lot of these, big artists right now, what they're doing is they're releasing NFTs. And these NFTs just kind of represent their attachment to involvement in the artist communities. But what we're trying to do with the Aokiverse and the passport is create, a dynamic composable NFT that is able to kind of live and be owned by, its members. And the cool thing with these NFTs is that they change over time. And so, the more you interact with Steve Aoki in his universe and his, events and so on, the more these NFTs become, I want to say like supercharged and upgraded. On top of that too, they act as a rewards card. So think of it as like an air miles card or a airline rewards card for the more you use it, the more benefits you get. And so that's the same sort of concepts that are being built into this NFT itself. And so, you can think about it like this, this NFT can say, if I've been to, 3 or 4 Steve Aoki concerts, then I can unlock another reward, right? And this is all provable and redeemable on chain, right? Which is really cool. And so, part of it is that, as this kind of community grows, the value of this NFT grows. And if you don't want to if you don't want to be part of the community anymore, you can always just sell it.
Yeah, exactly right. And so so you talked about a passport, right? So how many of these passports are there? And is this like a similar model to the kind of projects that you'll be doing with other collaborators on the platform?
So the number of passports has yet to be determined. So what just happened right now is we had a credit sale, which you can then take these credits and redeem for different levels of passports. And so there's like the entry level passports, and it goes all the way up to like the platinum level, or I think it's called Onyx in this place, or Prism is the highest level, right? And each of these tiers have different rewards attached to them. And so it's undetermined how many passports will be going into the wild, where it will be redeemed, but it's all based on the number of credits that will be kind of distributed to the community and then redeem itself. And then as for other platforms or other collaborators, Steve is always looking for other collaborators to bring onto his ecosystem. And Aokiverse is just his version of his reward system. But it's very easy to add other sort of collaborators on and create their own sort of like quote unquote metaverses.
Yeah, cool. And Richard, some people, they'll be listening to this and they'll be getting to understand a little bit about what you guys are doing at Manifold, but I think it'd be good to just dig into it a little bit more. So I think that there's two parts to this, right? There's what you call Manifold Studio and then a Manifold Creator. So it'd be cool if you could maybe just talk through what those two things are, and how people can potentially use them, or what kind of tools and products are available for people that do decide to use them.
Yeah, for sure. So when we got into the NFT space, we realized that one of the big things is that a lot of creators didn't know how to create NFTs. And the typical way to create an NFT was you had to go through a platform such as Nifty Gateway, OpenSea, or Foundation. But true provenance comes from being able to own your own contract and mint on that contract, right? In a lot of cases for the platforms, it's always been the platform who owns the contract, who owns, sort of the technology underneath the NFT itself. And with your own smart contract, you're guaranteed that the platform can't change anything on you. You have full control of your artistry, and you can also do more innovative things. And so that's what the Manifold Creator Contract is. It's a contract that we have open source and provided free to the community to kind of create NFT projects on top of. So, that's what we've done for the community. But having a contract isn't really that useful unless you have, tools to engage with the contract and build on top of it. So Manifold Studio is an application that's built on top of the contract that allows creators to come in and deploy contracts easily. You can do so with 1 or 2 clicks, also cheaply. It costs roughly about 0.01 to 0.05 ETH, which is roughly, $50 to $150 to deploy one of these contracts. And it's a tool that will let you then upload artwork and mint on these contracts itself. So, that's the difference between Manifold Creator and Manifold Studio. But the beauty of this is it's all open source, so anybody can come along and create their own sort of tools on top of the creator contract, or they can use their own.
Got it. But in terms of the people that you're doing, I guess, higher profile collaborations with, Julian Assange and Steve Aoki, people like that, that's more of a short list of kind of, I guess, hero projects, right?
Yeah. So, one of the things we like doing at Manifold is we like working with sort of the top creators in space, because the top creators of the space have very different problems that they're trying to solve, right? They're trying to do something unique and innovative. And how we work at Manifold is whenever we work on these kind of projects with these creators, we're always looking for pieces that we can take out of the project and create more generalized infrastructure and tools for the wider audience. And so you kind of say that, we work on, these projects with, Pax, Steve Aoki, and so on, like, these very, household names, so that we can create better tools and infrastructure for the rest of the community to kind of take advantage of. And, this is how we're able to provide some of these tools for free for, the general Web3 ecosystem.
Yeah, cool. And Richard, you guys talk about, and well, it's not just you guys, but a lot of people, I suppose, in NFTs. One of the the easiest ways to describe NFTs is the idea of NFTs being essentially an online game. Like it's an online game. There are no borders. Anyone can participate. It's a new and emerging Web3 digital economy, and we're all kind of making up the rules as we go along. And in some ways, there are no rules. It is just a big game of digital creativity. And you guys use the term creative sovereignty, right? So I'd love for you to just, look, wax lyrical, Richard. I'd love to get your kind of perspective on how you understand NFTs in terms of this great online digital game and what creative sovereignty means.
Yeah, for sure. I think the big innovation here with NFTs itself, right, is that for the first time, we've been able to kind of prove ownership of digital assets, right, digital works. And so if you think about what happened before is, a digital artist would come along, they would create, a piece of work, and then there'd be no way for them to actually monetize that work. Compared to like a traditional painter or a traditional artist, you have this physical painting that you can then sell, and that painting would have value. And so for a digital artist, that was just impossible, right? Because I could sell you the file, but then you could just take the file, copy the file, and then distribute it, right? On top of that too, there was no way to actually prove who actually originally created the file. And so that's why, a lot of these digital artists would have their work stolen off of, Instagram or wherever they shared it, right? And the model for kind of monetizing creative works has always been, through licensing, which has generated very, very little like revenue for these artists. It goes for music in the music industry. The actual artist makes very little money compared to how much money the platforms and every sort of, record label and agency is taking away from the pie. And so what NFTs have done is that they've created this framework and this technology that allows creators to prove that they are the original creators of it and be able to sell these works to other individuals and collectors in a verified manner, so that everybody can see that, yes, this did originate from the creator, it was sold to a collector, and that chain of provenance is intact, right? And that's how you can just value these digital works. And so that's created this really interesting kind of market, because the way that it works on a blockchain is that the blockchain is global, and now you have this complete open economy for digital goods that has been created on the blockchain. And because it's decentralized, no one can really stop what is happening here. And so there is no platforms, there is no middleman. It's just I can go directly to the creator and buy a digital work without having to go through any intermediary. And that's kind of revolutionary, because now we're able to value digital assets as as we do real world assets. So I think the unique thing that most people don't understand here is digital ownership is this new concept that is enabled by the blockchain, and NFTs are kind of this like building block that enables this.
Absolutely. And Richard, you have a reasonably high profile on crypto Twitter or NFT Twitter. You're probably pseudo anonymous, but you have a CryptoPunk 6046 as your Twitter profile pic. I'd love to hear your your crypto journey and your NFT journey. What was that like for you?
So I got involved in crypto, quite a while ago. It was, I guess like mid 2000s, right? And when I first started playing with, just like the blockchain in general, I started Bitcoin. I was just like so kind of like, it was like, I just discovered something like really, really interesting and just started playing with the technology itself. Like being a programmer, doing payments is always a pain in the ass, because you always have to go through like PayPal or some sort of intermediary or merchant account, right? And working them was just really difficult. So doing online web payments are just like a hard proposition. And all of a sudden Bitcoin comes along, and then you're like, oh, I can just send payments without having to sign up for a merchant account or go through someone like PayPal. And it really just opened the doors to like what digital commerce could be online. And so I created a company that did kind of digital online payments, and then ended up selling that company, and and then working for the new parent company. But that whole entire time, we were just kind of doing the same thing over and over again, which was just moving money back and forth, and they just got a little boring. So I took a break from crypto, and then what ended up happening is earlier last year, my current co-founder sent me an NFT he just bought. And I was looking at this thing and I was like, what is this? So, he sent me a link to Nifty Gateway of an NFT from an artist called Slime Sunday that he had just purchased for $1,000. And as I was looking at this, I was like, what did you buy? And, it just didn't click to me, like, what he bought. And I'm like, okay, you bought this digital thing, but you didn't get anything for it. And so it just made no sense to me. So we talked for a bit. He sent me another one he bought a week later. It still didn't click. But then he got me to buy one. He said, I need your help to buy an NFT. It's dropping at like 4 p.m. and, can you help me buy it? And so I was like, sure, I'll help you buy this. And so, he got me set up on Nifty Gateway, and I asked him what you had to do. And he's like, click the button at 4 p.m. And I was like, click the button at 4 p.m. And it was this kind of like this weird proposition because it was like the first person to click the button in the world was the person who would be able to buy this thing. And I was like, okay, that's really interesting. And so anyways, so we went through this process and I ended up being able to purchase one of these items, right? It was $4,000 and it was a Slime Sunday piece. So same artist that he had purchased earlier. And after I had purchased this, my first NFT, I had no idea what to do with it. And so I asked my co-founder, Eric, what to do with it. And he's like, well, you can either sell it, you can transfer it, or you can hold it. And so he thought maybe selling it would be the most interesting thing. And so we ended up, I asked him how much to list it for. And he said, why don't you put $15,000? And in my head, that was just ridiculous because, who's going to pay $15,000 for this thing? But I listed it. We caught up because we haven't talked for a while. And then about 10 minutes after we hung up, what had happened is someone had purchased the NFT from me. And my first reaction wasn't like happy. It was, I just made $11,000, but I wasn't happy about it. It was, my first thought was, oh, well, I priced it too low. If somebody paid that much that fast for it. But then my other reaction was very emotional, was like, I didn't have this thing anymore. And it was this thing I didn't have before. I owned it for about an hour and then it was gone. And I had seller's remorse. And so I was like, this is a very interesting emotion to have, especially to like a digital asset. And from there, I just started digging into what NFTs were. And, what I realized is that, NFTs were kind of like the consumer application that crypto had always been looking for. That made perfect sense. Before we were always trying to apply crypto to different industries, but this time it was actually a problem that crypto solved very natively and fit very well. And so from there, I started off as a collector, collecting more NFTs and connecting with artists. But then as we started connecting with artists, from works that we had purchased, we started talking to them about, what the blockchain could actually do. And most of these artists didn't understand, the power of the blockchain. To them, they were just tokenizing images and video and turning them into tokens so they could be sold. But to us, the blockchain was a brand new medium that was just waiting to be explored. And so we started collaborating with artists and just creating these like really cool NFT projects. And that was sort of the start of Manifold.
Yes, well, so many good thoughts there, Richard. But I love the idea of, people having an emotional connection to NFTs, and this is you're exactly right. And it also, when you talk about this being, I guess, the first consumer application of crypto, or making it friendly for people, right? So you're probably aware of the Fluff World. So I've got like a couple of Fluff NFTs, and they're really digital rabbits. But man, you're exactly right. I have an emotional connection to my two Fluffs, to the point where I'd find it hard to let them go. So, and the way I describe it also is, people, altcoin traders, you talk about having FOMO over some obscure random shitcoin that is not really doing too much good in the world anyway. But you can imagine that the FOMO that people have over NFTs, it does make more sense because, as you say, they're much more emotionally invested, and that's really powerful, right?
Yeah, I think the other thing too is that when you buy an NFT, you're connected to not just with the concept of NFTs, you're connected to the creators of the NFT and the larger community at large, right?
Yes.
When I think about, all these kind of coins that I've collected over the years or, just kind of invested in, there's no emotional connection there. It's been strictly
Yeah.
Either technological or just, trying to make a profit on these things. Whereas with NFTs, I've been able to create, really good community. I've been able to like engage with different communities, support artists that have become really good friends, right? And really just like really think about what creative things can be done with the technology rather than just, hey, we're going to create a coin that does some activity to, create an economy that hopefully the price will go up.
Yeah, yeah. And look, I mean, so much has happened in, well, I mean, I suppose, last year, and so much will happen this year in NFTs. But people like to say that, crypto moves, 10 times faster than any other market, and NFTs move 5 times faster than crypto. I'm sure you relate to that, Richard. I'd love to kind of hear any kind of broader observations on broader observations on what excites you in NFTs for this year, and also after that, love to hear broader observations on what worries you, because there's a lot of I guess like there's scammers and just a few problems like that as well. That's just what happens in new fast moving technology orientated industries. But look, let's do the positive stuff first. I know it's just speculation, but what's some of the stuff that really excites you looking forward?
I think last year was kind of like was the year that NFT started to break out. And natural side effect of that was that people were just kind of copying all the technology and all the sort of ways successful projects had dropped and run their communities and so on. But the thing is, we didn't really advance that far, technologically, right? What I'm really looking forward to going forward is just seeing more applications to NFTs, because still, like I said, NFTs are more than just tokenization of images and video, but you can create entire, what I would say, like mechanisms that are built on the blockchain and native to the blockchain that extend beyond just image and artwork itself, right? I'm going to take it back to the IO Keepers project, because that's the project I'm working on right now, and that's kind of like forefront of my head. Is that we're creating composable NFTs, right? And these NFTs are meant to be bigger than just the NFT itself, right? And these NFTs, a really big component of it is that they combine kind of Web 2, Web 3 in real life and metaverse components all in one. That kind of right, and these NFTs can be built upon by other communities going forward, right? And so if you think about the technology there's a lot of technology that's going into building this kind of ecosystem for these NFTs. And the other thing too is that these are very composable and composable and interoperable NFTs. And so, you can see it as, communities being able to talk to communities going forward. I think that a lot of the projects out there right now, right, that are just kind of be successful is that, they're very kind of surface level. They're dropping artwork that, look cool and trying to build community, but they're not really focused on the technology aspects of, what NFTs could be. And I think that's the exciting part. And we're very still in like, phase one of what NFTs can be. But, thinking about once you start kind of innovating past that and, people start realizing that some of these NFTs are just not worth, that are not going to last, right? Then, the projects that are going to win are the ones that are going to be innovative and kind of move the needle forward from a technology point of view and be able to cultivate the best communities. So.
Yeah, I very much agree with that. And I think it's, I can think of a few different examples of projects that are doing exactly that, Richard. They're extending the boundaries of what's possible by using the technology, and, they're either expanding their community or building with other communities. And I think, that's the key. Some of the projects that are just kind of walled garden standalone communities with not much going on except some artwork, they might struggle in the years to come. But I said the downsides. What worries you, Richard? There's a lot of questionable activity and stuff going on as well. A lot of fast money, a lot of hustlers. What keeps you up at night?
I think to me the biggest barrier to entry right now is just education around the crypto space. Like,
Yes.
for your average consumer, it's really hard to even get started,
Yes.
right? And even get started correctly, right? So security is a big issue. I spend a lot of time trying to educate my community and my followers on proper security techniques, right? But every single day, I'm getting people who keep messaging me saying that they got scammed, or their NFTs were stolen, right? And one whole things about being sovereign in crypto is that you are responsible for your own outcomes, right? There's no customer support you can call it to like fix things for you. And so, I think that with the money coming into the space right now, it's, it comes with more, people trying to scam people, of course. So, that's one thing that keeps you up at night is just that it's not hard to it's really hard to get into crypto and understanding all of the languages and best practices going forward. And so I think that's a problem for, I guess, like us to solve as a community by building better tools, but there really isn't a whole lot of builders out there, right? So that's one thing. I think that another thing too, I guess like negative part is some of these projects are just not what they think they are. And so, I think that reputation and influence plays a lot into some of these projects. And, a lot of these people are just going in trying to create these kind of like lottery mechanics where, they can create a project, make a few $1 million and then cash out, but not really support the project going forward. And, to a lot of people getting started for the first time, this could be their very first experience where they buy into a project and the project kind of like dies off, right? Without having fulfilled the promises of, what was intended. Because it's just really easy to just create a project and, get this out and just kind of leave it.
Yeah.
That's one thing. I think that the barrier to entry to like, working crypto is pretty high, right? Especially on Ethereum. And that to me is a non-starter for, I guess the broader audience in general. And so, yeah, those are some of the things I think about. Regulation is another one too, but it's not so much. Obviously with so much money flowing around, there is talks about how do you kind of regulate some of these activities. But, we're still in the early days, I would say, of NFTs. Even crypto isn't fully regulated at this point. So
Yeah, exactly right. And, for any listeners that don't follow Richard on Twitter, and he is just at Richard, but Richard is spelled Richerd. But yeah, I mean, you put out some great threads. You put out a thread earlier this month, just with some good kind of best practice security guidelines. But yeah, it's not an easy problem to solve. You're exactly right. People are kind of responsible for their own security and their own decisions, and yeah, learning curve coming in is steep. One other thing that occurs to me, Richard, is because like the Steve Aoki thing, it's look, don't get me wrong, it sounds like a really interesting project, and anyone that is a fan of Steve or follows his music, or goes along to his shows and wants to engage at that kind of almost super fan level, or kind of have that behind the scenes access. Of course, it's an amazing project, but there's so many, there's all these different layers of the passport that you talked about, right? And the same is true for so many different NFT projects. So I'm sure you relate to this kind of information overload, right? As soon as you're in more than 5 Discord channels and you're a holder of 5 or more different NFT collections, and it becomes quite intense just to keep up with kind of what you need to do to be getting on whitelists and getting the next mint, and the different trait that you need to be holding to get the right airdrop, all that kind of stuff. How does the new person coming into NFTs, how can they cope with this kind of information overload, especially if they're trying to hold down a day job or a night job or whatever it is?
yeah, I totally feel you. I feel like most people who jump into Web3 and NFT, it just kind of consumes their whole life. There's a lot going on, right? And one thing about crypto is that crypto doesn't sleep, right? It's the markets are going 24/7. Drops are happening every single day, and there is a lot of information overload. I think to me, kind of the biggest things that I've kind of done to, keep my sanity is one, disable pretty much all notifications for everything unless I truly care about them. And the other thing is just having a good group of people, that you kind of communicate with daily, right? So, I'm in a few, I would say, collector groups with some of my friends who are, very close. And, we keep each other kind of updated to like, what's going on for the day. And then on top of that too, right, it's really kind of engaging with the communities that you believe in. There's a few communities that, I'm really engaged in, such as the crypto community. And, I feel like being kind of choosing your communities is kind of like a really key component to like, having good experience in NFTs. And the thing is, everyone's just really helpful, right? It's interesting because, it is a competitive market from a sense of view of, everybody's trying to find, alpha, get a whitelist and stuff like that too. But, everyone's just like super helpful and like really just trying to look out for each other because, in the end, we're all going to make it, right?
In the end, we're all going to make it. That's exactly right, Richard. And that feels like a very nice place to pause for a second. We'll go to a quick break and then we'll come back. We'll finish off. We'll have some fun. We'll do the very famous Crypto Conversation hot take round. Back in one sec.
Sure.
For crypto indices and benchmarking, Brave New Coin's powerful indexing engine can calculate high-frequency intraday and end-of-day indices for a wide range of index products. Brave New Coin's custom indices team delivers experienced consultancy, premium data, and trusted calculation. Contact BNC today to find out more.
All right, we're back and I'm with Richard. Richard is Punk6046 and he is one of the co-founders at Manifold, a very cool looking NFT platform for, creators, super creators, or people like Steve Aoki, all that cool stuff. And Richard, I like to finish each Crypto Conversation podcast with a quick round of rapid fire Crypto Conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
Sure. Let's do it.
Let's do it indeed. All right, Richard, just want your quick, snappy answers, kind of hot take styles, no right or wrong way to do this, just a bit of fun. But the first question is, where do you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-coin opportunist spectrum?
I sort of feel like I'm on the but what's the other side? I'm not a maximalist. I kind of believe that every coin has its use case, right? Yeah. And you should really use each coin for like what it's good for, right? I started off in Bitcoin, but I kind of switched a lot to Ethereum just because there's more opportunity for me to kind of like be creative and expressive in it. But Bitcoin does have a good use case for like stored value and just kind of like moving massive amounts of funds like very easily and effectively.
Exactly right. I like it. All right. Well, Richard, what would you say is your firmest conviction, a crypto opinion?
Firmest crypto conviction. It's really interesting because like I truly believe that NFTs are going to just change the way society operates, right? It's interesting because we always talk about being crypto pilled or like right. But in my sense, I've been like NFT pilled because I can't see anything outside of NFTs like going forward. I think that NFTs are going to just like revolutionize how media kind of operates. We've seen brand new business models being able to be created because of NFTs, right? I think it's just gonna become the default way of kind of doing things going forward.
Yep, I like it. All right, well, Richard, Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. So, you talk about being NFT pilled, so it's time to extrapolate, time to speculate. NFTs in 10 years, what does it look like? What's possible? How has the world changed?
I think 10 years is a long time to think about, especially with crypto, right?
Yep.
But I think that in the future, it's any sort of ownership could be represented by NFTs, right? Because it's verifiable, on a blockchain, and you can actually prove, who owns what and who's participated in what kind of areas of society. And I think that the key thing will happen is that when NFTs kind of disappear in the background, like, NFTs are technology, but the key thing will happen is that when, we're kind of interacting with like applications and technology, but not even realizing that they're kind of, run by NFTs in the background. But if you want, you can like, jump in that layer and be like, okay, this is the data layer that I own things. And, be able to prove that stuff, right? You can think of that like identity, you can think about like, like real world ownership. These can all be kind of backed by NFTs, as the underlying data layer. And it's kind of like the idea behind Ethereum becoming like the supercomputer of the world, right? It's when the technology disappears from your usage. I think that's like the magical moment of, of where crypto is heading.
Yep, I like it. It's when the gnarly bits of the blockchain get abstracted away, and the UX and the UI finally just becomes buttery smooth. But that's where we're heading. Flip side of that, of course, is that why we're not quite there yet. William Gibson, famous sci-fi author, famously said that the future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed. With that in mind, Richard, can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people just aren't really aware of it?
I mean, there's a lot of people who don't think that crypto is a thing, right? Crypto and NFTs are just like not going to be a thing, or it's a Ponzi scheme.
Yep.
But I think that for those people, they're just not aware of like what the technology can do, right? It's kind of like, NFTs are going to be here. I truly believe that NFTs are going to be here to stay, right? And there is a lot of price speculation that kind of scares a lot of people away, or it's like they see all the money going in, right? Thinking like why is that, right? But collectibles have always been a thing. People have been collecting things for ages. And there's why is there value in those sort of things, right? And so I think that the context of why people are doing this really, really matters, right? The context of internet culture, right? Some of these memes are going for hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? They're the exact same thing as famous artworks going for hundreds, even millions of dollars, itself too, because it's just part of culture, right? And being able to own part of culture is valuable. So yeah, I think that the big discrepancy is that, a lot of people are just unwilling to do so, but they jump into space because they don't understand it, right? They think that it's not real, right? But, I think that society makes it real. We believe in the myths that we believe in, right? Even like money isn't a real concept, but we make it real because through our actions. And I think that crypto and NFTs are just kind of the next iteration of that as our lives become more, digital and online.
I like that a lot, Richard, and I think the idea of people spending, $1 million for an NFT of an internet meme, I think that's a perfect example of the future being here right now. But a lot of people are yet to be able to wrap their head around why it makes sense. But it does make sense because it is just culture. It is just culture. It's the monetization of creative culture. It's time to get weird for a second, Richard, if we haven't been weird already, and I think we have, but time to zoom out. What do you see as the long-term future of the human race? Do you see a dystopia or utopia?
I think it's a hybrid of the two. I can't really say it's going to be utopian or dystopian.
Yep.
The harbor I have is just more like politics. The incentive structure of politics are just not aligned with, what people want. And so, because, you have policymakers who just like don't understand, what is actually going on with in society. And so, they're making not optimal decisions that would best benefit everyone, right? So I think that's like more the dystopian outcome. I guess the utopian outcome is that, crypto can play a part in that. If, we always say like, vote with your money, right? But crypto allows you to kind of do some of those things. And we're seeing that with some of these like DAO experiments. I'm not sure how these DAOs are going to play out, but it's the way I kind of see it is that each of these DAO groups and experiments are a small scale version of how governance of larger organizations and entities could play out, right? So right now they're very small, but you can imagine what happens when like a town turns itself into a DAO, or like a city, or even a country eventually, right? And so, that's kind of the interesting, I guess, utopian, dystopian outcome that could happen, is that we're all just like governed through tokens.
Very nicely said, Richard. All right, time to start to close this out. Finally, what is your favorite science fiction, a book, film, TV show, or universe?
My favorite, other movie, my favorite film it's called Gattaca, right? It's with Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman.
Yes.
And it's about, a future where everything is based on genetics, and one man who's dreamed his go to space, who's been selected out because he just doesn't have the genetic fit for going to space, is able to overcome these challenges and at all costs to kind of achieve his dreams. And I've always liked that.
Yeah, Gattaca's that's a great pick. I'm very familiar with Gattaca. It's a 1997 film written, directed by Andrew Niccol, starring Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman. Yeah, great. Great sound design and visuals in that film. It's a good one. Hey, thank you, Richard. This has been fun. Nothing else to say really, except hand the metaphorical microphone back to your good self. Please, give a final shout out to what you guys are building at Manifold, and feel free to share any of the details on any of the upcoming drops, such as the Steve Aoki and whatever else you got going on. Go for gold.
So if you want to check out Manifold, the website is manifold @xyz. And then if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's just Richard at RICHERD. And then the Manifold Twitter account is just at Manifold XYZ.
Awesome. Thanks very much, dude. I'm going to be watching, see what you guys build this year. Can't wait. Thanks for coming on the show. All the best, and bye for now.
All right. Thanks, Andy.
All right, there you go. That was Richard from Manifold. Yeah, that was cool. Interesting guy. Had some lots of good thoughts, interesting thoughts on NFTs. Man, NFTs, it is getting harder and harder to keep up with the wonderful world of NFTs, because there is simply so much going on. I think, it's the same for everyone, but great advice from Richard. Have just a little group of friends or fellow collectors or whatever, and you can just rely on each other to kind of keep up to date with whatever projects you're in. It's all anyone can really do. All right, let's leave it there. That was today's show. Thanks for listening, team. Don't forget to subscribe to the Crypto Conversation in whatever podcast app you are using. Give us a nice rating on Apple iTunes and the podcast app. Thanks for listening. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave New Coin.